Have you guys been checking out the new improvements to the White House? Oh, it looks beautiful. They got a whole bunch of new things in store for the White House, a lot of improvements. And pretty much anyone would say that if we're trying to better ourselves, trying to make things nicer, then that's a good thing, right? Especially if all these improvements are completely free, right? Wouldn't that be a fantastic thing? I feel like anyone in their right mind would say that that is a good thing, not a bad thing, that they're making things better, they're progressive people, right? But not for Democrats. No, not for Democrats. Democrats are quite upset. Quite upset that President Trump is improving the White House and doing it for absolutely free.
Well, as I mentioned on this program a couple weeks ago, I think it's fairly grotesque to begin construction, just the optics of beginning construction on a grand ballroom at a time when the government is shut down, inflation is still high, costs are still high. We saw new economic indicators coming out today actually showing that middle and lower income Americans are falling behind in car payments, which is an early indicator. So I think even if you believe that this was a good idea, I would say the timing is horrible. And look, personally, it was a little shocking to see those images, having worked in the White House. I mean, there's so much beauty and history in the East Wing. So it's sad to see that, that huge hole there. And I would just mention that some of the other things, the changes that Scott mentioned, those were additions. This is a subtraction, I guess, in an addition, but it really changes, I think, in many ways what the people's house is supposed to be about, which is not necessarily a grand ballroom with crystal chandeliers, but it's about, the American people. So again, I just also think the construction timing is really just gross.
So she's talking about how it's a terrible thing to begin construction projects when the economy is not going so well, right? But of course, she completely probably doesn't even know what the fuck she's talking about, to be honest with you, but completely ignores or refuses to admit that probably someone that she considers to be one of her favorite presidents, that'd be FDR, specifically during the Great Depression, used the government building projects as a way to hire people, to get people jobs, and to stimulate the economy. So by her own regard, she would say that the actions that FDR took would be a bad thing. Also, this is, a lot of comments about how, oh my God, they're destroying this. Oh my God, how could they? How could they destroy such a history of this whole thing? Let's talk about this, okay? Let's talk about this. To be fair, presidents have been renovating and expanding the White House, quite often. This is not a completely foreign thing. This is not something that is just Trump, right? In 1902, President Theodore Roosevelt built the West Wing. In 1909, President William Howard Taft added the first Oval Office during a West Wing expansion. In 1933, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, FDR, that person, right? The one that I was just talking about, added a second floor to the West Wing. In 1934, this, of course, if you know your history, this is all during the Great Depression, right? 1934, he relocated the Oval Office to its current spot, completed the East Wing, and built an indoor swimming pool. Oh my God, wait, FDR built an indoor swimming pool? But this is the people's house. It's not about the grand ballrooms. But it's not like that. 1948, Truman began completely gutting and rebuilding the White House interior, preserving only exterior walls. 1970, Nixon converted FDR's pool into the press briefing room. 1973, he added a bowling alley in the basement. 2009, Obama. No. Obama, dude. Wait, Obama changed the people's house? But we love Obama. Obama upgraded the tennis court into a full basketball court. You know, because basketball, man. Yeah, basketball, bro. First black president. We gotta have a basketball court in the fucking White House, right? And then 2025, of course, Trump broken ground on a grand ballroom, modernizing the wing while privately funding the project. Isn't that great? Completely privately funding the entire thing. Yet somehow Democrats find that to be a terrible thing. Oh my God, how could you get a free upgrade and employ people to the why? Oh my, it's completely free. We still have a problem with it. It just makes no sense. It's just Democrats trying to be upset about this thing. But to be very clear, this whole White House renovation is 100% funded by donation. 100% funded. Here, of course, some more images of what they're doing. I think it's gonna be beautiful. You know, right now it looks like you know, there's some stuff going on. You know, it's gonna be beautiful. By the way, that's not the actual White House right there. That is you got bamboozled. You think this was the White House? No, bamboozled. You got bamboozled. Guess what? That's actually a $1.6 billion expansion of Gavin Newsom's California Capitol. That is 100% taxpayer funded. So, you know, whoops. Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. Wait, that was Gavin Newsom? $1.6 billion expansion of the California Capitol? Oh, whoopsies. Whoopsie doodles. Oh, God. Wait. But wait, you're literally making a $1.6 billion expansion of the California Capitol, Gavin Newsom, when there's a literal genocide going on? There's a literal genocide going on and a literal recession going on, bro. And you're making a $1.6 billion renovation, 100% taxpayer funded? But ignore all that, guys. Ignore all that. Trump is changing the ballroom, 100% funded by private donations. Get upset, dude. Get really upset. Those are the things you need to care about, you know, because a Democrat can never do anything wrong, right? It's always Trump. Trump's always doing something. Trump's always doing something wrong, dude. What's wrong with you, Trump? Anyways, we have some beautiful little things here, you know. The White House, of course, posted about this. For over 100 years, presidents have enhanced the White House, preserving its legacy as a symbol of our nation. Today, President Trump proudly broke ground on the new big White House ballroom, privately funded. It cost taxpayers nothing. It will be cherished for generations. I think it's going to be brilliant. You know, you hear the stories about what's happened, you know, with trying to have functions, you know, presidential functions. And, you know, you got people stepping in mud and all this stuff, you know, President Xi, you know, he's got mud up to his knees, you know, and all this stuff. It's just, I'm sorry. It's not a good look. It's not a good look at all whatsoever for the United States of America. If you got you know, you got a bullshit little area, you know, you got to have a good area to bring in people to conduct business. You got to just like for me, you know, I got this office, you know, were those other renovations privately funded? No, God, no. When it comes to the previous renovations done, no, none of those were privately funded. FDR specifically, when it comes to all the different building projects he did, were specifically funded by the government and used to enlist people to give them jobs during the Great New Deal, I believe it's called. Oh my God, Big New Deal. I'm literally forgetting my shit. I think it's the Great New Deal. So FDR specifically stimulated the economy during the Great Depression through the Big New Deal, which allowed a lot of government funding into public works projects. Big, beautiful deal, the Great New Deal, the big deal, the deal. But FDR did that. He did a whole bunch of things. You know, you ever heard about the bridge to nowhere in California? The bridge to nowhere in California was actually part of FDR's Big New Deal. I keep on saying Big New Deal, and it sounds weird when I say it. FDR, Big New Deal, Great New Deal, the New Deal, the Big New Deal, New Deal, the Big New Deal, the New Deal. Okay, it's the New Deal. Let's just say New Deal. There we go. Great. It's the big, I'm so used to Trumpisms. The big, beautiful deal. The great deal. No, it's the New Deal. Okay, so FDR's New Deal, he specifically stated he was going to stimulate the economy by a whole bunch of public works projects. Among those are a lot of the things that you consider to be like great infrastructure, all that stuff. I mean, personally, you know, whatever. Was that something he should have done? I don't know, you know, but it is, right? Not build back better, big New Deal, right? So that was part of it, was to stimulate the economy by giving jobs to people during the Great Depression. Boom. History lesson. So all of this clutching your pearls over what Trump's doing is insane and also hypocritical. Boom. But then again, these are Democrats, so of course it's insane and hypocritical, right? But they don't know about history, and they expect you to not know about history too. But now you do. Now you do. So when someone's like, oh my God, why is he making that fucking ballroom, bro? We're in a literal genocide slash inflation high slash recession slash people aren't paying back their bills. Why is he doing that? Then you can tell them, no, bro, history. Learned. Okay. I learned about it, dog. Okay. Anyways, moving on along.